I'm here to talk about a marriage, which you might not expect. But I recently read that marriages usually fail globally on average 50%. That's a lot. And if you see at the reasons why they fail, what the article mentioned, there's a couple of them which struck out. First of all, financial issues, which you might expect. Secondly, unrealistic expectations. Thirdly, two different people do things differently and the match is not there. And if you look in business, I think M&A or merger and acquisitions is probably the closest to a marriage. And if you read the smart articles from the big consulting firms, it's even worse. 70 to 90% fail. And many of you will recognize it. Usually you know it quite quickly when you acquire the business or you merge with the business. And if you look at the reasons, they're not that different from a marriage. First of all, the financial expectations were not there, so it's quite similar. Secondly, there is always a synergy case and a case of sales and getting together and 1 + 1 gets 4, which is done by smart consultants, get lost. And then there is the culture gap of people who can't get along, which is not spent enough time on. So I've done more than, I said, 30 acquisitions. It feels a lot, but it's over a long time, in the past 30 years. And many of them have delivered, many of them has failed. And probably you can relate to it. Once you do that acquisition, you always see directly like, I did it wrong or there's something not right here. But a few years ago, I made an acquisition in an emerging market that surprised me and today still surprised me. Right away after, actually a couple of days, when we acquired the business, I thought this would be the biggest nightmare and the worst story and the biggest mistake of my life. However, now, a few years later, when I look back to it, it has been a little bit of an MBA course. I mean, we learn things that you never see in MBA courses, but it's an MBA course. And it became one of the best performing companies in my portfolio. So ladies and gentlemen, fellow founders, here in the audience, my name is Peter de Caluwe. As said, I'm originally from Belgium. Nobody is perfect. I wanted to thank you, the Singapore FinTech Festival, to have me here on stage and giving me the opportunity to share some stories. I'm sharing this with you as a war story, and especially some of you might find yourself in a similar situation now or in the future, and I hope some of these elements can help you becoming more successful in M&A. So as I said, Peter de Caluwe, I'm 8 years in Singapore. In a day-to-day life, I run this company called Thunes. There's a booth over there in cross-border payments. Very exciting to see the previous stage was talking about infrastructure. So Thunes is organizing an infrastructure for cross-border payments. But this story has nothing to do with Thunes. While we were building Thunes, I had the ambition, I had the appetite and the hunger to make another acquisition. So a few years ago, we found a company in micropayments, microlending, in emerging markets. Going into it, we know it was a little bit of a colorful past, I would put it that way. The business looked very promising. All the ingredients that you think of a great business are there. It was operating in 20 different countries, large at scale, had amazing partners, had a strong product proposition, was solving a real problem for millions of consumers, on a daily basis processed millions of transactions. And if you look at it, these are all really great ingredients, right? I mean, this is a company you think this is a rock star. So we decided to go a little bit deeper, and we found that the finances of the company were not that great. I would not blame the founders, but there was a lot of mismanagement and expectations set. There was also a big loan taken from a lender, private equity, and that loan came to convert, and of course, I got curious, great product, there were some financial issues, so decided to acquire it from the private equity. In a matter of months, literally in a matter of months, everything that you can imagine that can go wrong went wrong. And it was really to the point that we had to say, like, look, either we walk away and shut it down, or we go and fight. So over the next 6 months of that acquisition, we had a couple of critical moments, and I want to share you a couple of these moments. So first critical moment, there you go. First critical moment is the company had, in all these markets, 20 countries, partners, resellers, bound up in joint venture structures. A lot of legal complexities, But on month one, we acquired the business. The largest partner in the book walked away from us, took the customer with him, and was gone. 40% of the revenue overnight was gone. 40% of the value we acquired the business was also gone. Critical moment number 2. Upon acquisition, there was a management team who was there to keep, I would say, the ship afloat and barely the lights on. There was a CEO, CFO, COO, and CTO, and the CTO decided to walk away from us and take the most critical engineers and talent in the business. Within a couple of weeks, she launched a new business and started competing with us. Critical moment number 3. Around the same time, we uncovered that the company also had a couple of assets which we didn't know about. Things like corporate buses, cars, luxury cars, and so forth, pieces of art, etc. And what was shocking was that these things were all used by individuals in the organization for private reasons. Even some of them were using our luxury cars to do a little bit of Grab, Uber look-alike drives and get some extra money. And everything on expenses of these things was really smartly tucked away in the P&Ls. Critical moment number 4, next thing I discovered. One of our projects, which was with a big financial, I would say, bank or infrastructure, was going wrong. There were some technical issues, and the consumer using the system found a loophole, and now all of a sudden we were looking at millions of dollars, 5 to 10 range, of losses. And not only this, partner claimed to me, joint venture partner said, I want to walk out. So increasingly we had frictions with these partners. And of course we were facing claims of millions of dollars. Critical moment number 5, it was a simple business model, but it had a very complex structure with joint ventures and partnerships. And in the first 6 months after the acquisition, we got slapped by a multi-million-dollar tax bill in the range of 30 to 40 million US dollar. From some authorities who all of a sudden said, like, you're a big group and your global income should be taxed here, so we're going to tax you with penalties, 35, 45 million dollar range bills. Now, critical moment number 6. Right before the acquisition, here we go. Right before the acquisition completed, we put together a team, which basically was a diverse team that we pulled together. We hired people, sent them into it, and there were clashes ongoing with the original team, fights, culture clashes, issues, to a moment that basically some of the team members were threatening with lawsuits against us to say, it's a blow-up. Some people crashed completely. So now we're having a company with a lot of issues and no team, and basically looking at it, we had to rethink the complete thing. So where do I go from here now? No financial runway, no money, no dedicated management team, and a new crisis coming up every other day. The other shareholders and all my advisors and mentors suggested just like throw the key as far as you can in the sea and run away from it, shut this thing down. But I just couldn't get it over my heart. I felt like there is a business here which is solving a problem for millions of consumers using our service every day. It's B2B2C. And there is a purpose for it. So we have to fix this. We have to fix this. So I had to roll up my sleeves and get involved. And I was more involved than I ever would have expected because I was still running this company also. Going on the ground, pulling a new team together, and really get my hands dirty. So I grouped a new team of warriors with a clear view of like, we have to fix these 6 items and some more, which I didn't mention. We poured millions of dollars in tax advisory structures to make sure that we got rid of all the issues which are around it. We sold all the company assets, so it was basically a big garage sales where we sold Mercedes and BMWs and all that sort of stuff. We exited the unprofitable partnerships. We kicked customers out, which we have to. We couldn't sustain it anymore. We hired a professional management team in the end. Commercial team, start rebuilding the product, firing on engines of commercial side. And over time, I managed to turn this thing around with a company culture where everybody was thinking global, very ambitious, think hard, go out of the box, and start growing again. So today, many years after it, all that effort has paid off. It has become one of the rising stars in our I would say, ownership portfolio. We're making profit. We raised Series A, if you can call it Series A, from an outside investor, got a validation, and it's a fast-growing company. 100% revenue year over year, profitable. So as a conclusion, I would say not all marriages are successful, but the ones who are do take a lot of effort, rolling up the sleeves, putting a lot of attention to it, and some battles are really worth fighting for, is a second learning. I'm today 25 years married, with the same woman, by the way. She has put a huge amount of effort in me, I a little bit into it, but we're still together. So I hope some elements were learnings. Thank you for listening in.